Model for change practitioners, Louise.
Thank you, everyone. Now, is my mic on? Can you hear me? Yes. Good. I feel a bit like Madonna with this, but I can't dance very well, so we'll stick to change today. So, who wants to be the best practitioner that they can be? Please raise your hands. Okay, and say yes if you really wholeheartedly mean it. Say yes. Yes, and again, yes. Okay, I know it's a leading question, because if we didn't want to be our best, then we wouldn't be here, unless you're meant to be at another conference, of course, but hopefully you'll get some benefit. But what does best mean? What does it mean in terms of who we are as people? And what does it mean about who we are as change practitioners, in terms of our way and what we are doing? So this is what we're going to be exploring today with the 9 ways to change. So a little story, because I think the story starts right back at the beginning. When I was a child, I used to spend time in my grandmother's garden. It was a beautiful place of space, birds, sunshine, and I would sit under her apple tree, drawing diagrams of future worlds, things that I could visualise that would become. And I would draw schools with elevator walkways. Now, you see those in airports now, but I'm saying I had that idea first. I've never been approached, and I'm not going to claim anything. It's satisfaction enough to know that that was me, okay? And libraries with rotating shelves. It was as if even at an early age my change management career had begun, and I'm sure it will be the same for all of you here. But fast forward to my late 20s, and at that point I had a degree in IT, I was a project manager in local government, and I was learning how to manage change according to time, cost and quality. But I realised that that just wasn't enough. Just planning and mapping out and delivering tangible deliverables was not enough to move people, move the hearts and minds of people. But it wasn't only the hearts and minds of local government I wanted to change, I wanted to move my own. I felt a gap, and maybe some of you have experienced this or experiencing this now, but I felt a gap between who I am as a person and who I want to be. I felt a void, a space, and I didn't know the roadmap to get there. I was asking the same personal question: how do I address this gap within my own life, and how do I address this gap that I can see in local government? And so you might be wondering why there's some traffic lights there. And it would be about 2004, I took a walk out from my office, and I stood at a traffic light feeling this pressure of I don't know whether to move forward, backwards, left or right. Where do I go with this thing that's hounding me? And I said to myself, I want to be the best person I can be. But what does best mean? And that started off a journey. And so on that one very day, I created an idea and an intent with a powerful desire that went along with it for change. And I didn't know how yet it was going to manifest. And just like this droplet of water, when an idea comes and starts to manifest, it creates ripples, and those ripples go further and further out. Now, what I think is particularly exciting about today is when I was standing at that traffic light with that idea, I didn't know that it would lead the ripple effect to all of you here, coming together in this change space. It just shows how all connected we are if we're all kind of seeking for the same goal. We'll find each other and work well together. So this is a change space, and this could be your change space in your life or in your organisation. Us project managers might see that circle and call it scope. Don't go outside of it. But ultimately, this is what we are here to do today, to explore that. So what would we say would be our mission as a change practitioner when it comes to delivering whole change? I chose the fern, and I'm from New Zealand. I chose the fern because it represents natural growth that is held together by a common purpose. And as change practitioners, we want to manage change that enables change to happen with sufficient resistance, because resistance is absolutely necessary for change. If it's not uncomfortable, if we're not going through resistance, then we're not changing, we're flatlining. But resistance that is not far beyond our capacity to lead through it. There is a balance to be found. We all don't have to go home and say, I can't do this anymore. And I've been in that place many a time. So we want to be able to manage our change projects that are whole and sustainable. And you, as change practitioners, I decided, can you see your faces up there? I thought we as change practitioners are all here together for a common purpose. I did want to put, since we're in Florida, oranges in a box of orange, but I couldn't quite do a correlation between an orange and a change practitioner. Has anyone got any ideas? No? Not one? I thought about appealing to the nature of people, or I thought, oh, can't do it. It's going to be so rubbish. So we're sunflowers today, okay? That's what we are. Okay, so specifically about our objectives today. You will have discovered the value of coaching, even though I'm not coaching today because I'm doing most of the talking and we know that coaches listen. You will have learned a coaching model that you can take away in your own change practice. You can use it for yourself or for your teams, however you desire. You will have deepened your understanding of who you are as a change practitioner, your strengths and your weaknesses. And you would have explored the opportunities for what you can do with this. Ultimately, though, you decide when you take this back to the ranch, you can do exactly with it what you want. But what I will say is it's my invitation to you to get to know this change model. It actually can get in your subconscious and your psyche, and you'll start seeing things about change that you didn't even know that were there. Get to know it, start to use it, see how other people are using these ways without them even realizing it. And if you've got any questions at any time, even if it's 1 year down the line, email me. I'm just available. If you've got any questions whatsoever, just drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so let's have an intent that's suitable, I think, for change practitioners. I'm an open channel for new ways to flow. Use me as you will. Show me where to go. And so before we deep dive into the 9, we're going to talk about the power of the circle. And for those that have been involved in coaching or training in coaching, the circle is extremely significant. Have anyone come across the wheel of life in their coaching practice? What we do when we're coaching, we take a circle and we divide it into segments that collectively would represent the whole, such as segments of our life, whether it was health or wealth, and we would use that circle to evaluate how satisfied we are with each area. And where we're least satisfied, we would set strategies and goals. But the client drives what happens in the circle. The coach just provides the framework. But the circle is also important, especially in change management, because the circle has universal meaning across many cultures. The circle means wholeness, totality, completeness, integration of all parts within it when we say wholeness. And if we have integration and our change initiatives are integrated, meaning all the things that we should do, we have done, that is the key to change being sustainable. If we're missing out bits, for example, not dealing with those questions that Susan Scott said this morning, or shall we talk about it or not? If we are not integral in that circle, we won't deliver integral change and sustainable change. It will quickly degrade. Okay? So the circle means everything to us as change managers. We're always working inside that space within it. And at the core centre of that circle in our change initiatives, we'd like to think that we have a common purpose that is holding that space together. Okay? So now we've got a circle. What are we going to fill with that circle to give us a framework and some direction as to who we must be as whole change managers delivering whole change projects that are successful and deliver successful outcomes. And so I'd like to introduce you to the 9 ways to change. Now, there are some key principles here around numbers, which is why I keep mentioning the 9 and the numbers and the 9 ways to change. But through my study over the last 10 years, and I have done a raft of study going back thousands of years up to modern day about the nature of change and the nature of creating balance and harmony, I learnt about the meanings of 9 numbers. And as I learnt about those 9 numbers in my life practice, and if I could emulate the energy and the behaviours of those 9 numbers, I could start to naturally create change in my personal life. I could naturally create change in a whole, balanced way. And so I first developed this as a life coaching model. And if you see on, I think most of you have got it turned over, you can see the 9 ways to change there. I've actually included the life themes in your change cycle. But they won't be up on the slide because today we're focusing on organisational change. Okay? But the model came from whole change and whole balance in our personal lives. Because who we are as an individual is who we are in our change practice. If we can't take care of self and be courageous enough to be a leader of our own lives, how can we expect to go into a working environment and lead our teams and take a leadership position amongst our senior stakeholders? So here are the 9 ways to change. And so what we're going to do with most part of this session is I'm going to walk you through each of the 9 ways, and I'm going to ask you, to what extent are you satisfied with this way of being in your change practice? Okay? And so you will see over leaf there is a diagram that will look just like that. And so as we do the first one, which I'm giving a bit away here, but that's right, the leader, I'm going to ask you, to what extent are you satisfied with the leader in your change practice? And if you are absolutely fully satisfied right now, you're going to give it a 10. And draw a 10 across that part as if we were going to draw a radial diagram. If you couldn't be even less satisfied with this, you would give it a 1, and it indicates I really need to do some work in this area right now. So as we go through, I'm going to ask you to mark it. And by the time we're done, your coach wheel will look a bit like this. And so what's our objective here? Because this isn't a measure of competency, this is a measure of your satisfaction, how you feel as a person in terms of your change practice. And when we are feeling satisfied, because we can see the evidence, our will becomes balanced. The more out of balance, as if it's like a wheel, it's going to be a very rocky, hard ride. So, does everybody get what the mission that we're about to embark on? Yep? Okay. Let's kick off. Today, I precision the vision. I will have courage to see the possibilities for who and what we can be. So let me introduce you to the first way. The first way is of the leader. We precision the vision. The leader in your change practice will take an idea and formulate it into a powerful message of the future. Now, this particular accountability could sit with your sponsors or your stakeholders. But as a change practitioner, it's extremely important for you to work with your stakeholders to ensure that it is precise, because we are going to need this vision as we move through the change cycle. So, for example, we need our stakeholder, our sponsor, to not only define the change in terms of tangible organisational outcomes that they expect, such as an increased capability or an increased sales revenue, an increased strategic advantage because of some technology changes. We need that vision to tell us what are the organisational outcomes expected, but not to just define. We need them to describe. with the heart, describe what it means to us, appeal to our emotions. What are the benefits? What will it mean to us as a company? And so this is what we're doing in this first way to change. And if you are not a sponsor or anyone in a formal leadership capacity, it matters not. Every single person in a working environment has an opportunity to be a leader. Even as a change manager or as a project manager, in every meeting we are leading by setting a vision for a successful meeting. This is what the purpose is, and this is what success looks like at the end of it. Are we all clear on what we're doing and why we're doing it? And does anyone have any questions? So these behaviours are inherent to anyone who is working with others in creating change. Okay? So in terms of the activities that we are doing here, we are formulating our vision and we're ensuring that we are both describing and defining. So let's just summarise so you can start to think about the way of the leader in your change practice right now. To what extent are you satisfied that you are giving and doing and being everything that is called on you to be a leader in your team? Now, there may be some room for improvement, and in most cases, there most likely will. And this is also about courage and innovation. So just take a think about it. Write it down on your pad. Still got some thinkers. The number 1, just as a memory, the shape will give it away. I stand tall, I stand alone, I'm courageous, I'm innovative, and I will not fear to say what I need to say. That's what the leader does in our change practice. Okay, shall we move on? Yep. Today, I assess for success to determine patiently whether this change is ready for reality. So take a look at the shape of the number 2. Now, the shapes will give you the indication of its behaviours, and that will be a very easy way for you to remember the entire change cycle at any time. So number 1, tall, straight and confident. Look at the 2. Now, the 2 has a very stable base. It's almost head down, resilient, humble. The number 2 is the peacemaker. The number 2 in your change practice will take an idea and consider whether now is the right time for it to be carried forward. And so the number 2 in your way is asking you to deploy patience, diplomacy, tactfulness. You're the peacemaker between parties where you may need to be finding the common ground amongst your colleagues. And in terms of activities, this is when we will be doing our high-level change impact assessments. Okay, so we've got this vision of the future and we know what outcomes are expected. So what does that mean in terms of knowledge and capability? The new critical tasks, the processes that are required to be changed and by who? And not only the knowledge and the tasks, but what about the beliefs and the attitudes? The culture, does the culture need to change in order to drive those new ways forward? Because if they don't believe in it, they won't do it. And the other component we're looking at in this stage is, what about governing structures, organisational structures, IT structures? So in the time of the 2, we're pausing and we're taking a look at the environment and we're saying, is now the right time? What else is happening in the company? Is a merger about to happen? What is happening in the economy? Should we wait 6 months? Or do we just manage these as risks and decide to move forward because we don't have time to wait? Then, after that, we will be moving forward again. But before we do that, let's summarise where you think you are in terms of the partner in you and your ability to stop, take the time, be patient. And if it's difficult to decide whether it's about you, just take a look at your change initiative right now. Is this an area that you are fully satisfied that you've got in place? Does it not need any more attention than what it currently has been given? Okay? Let's move on. Today, I engage the stage. My comrades, my allies, we find the same page. The number 3, an opposite opposing force to the 2, very grounded, slow, humble, considerate. The 3 is the engager, the creator. The role of the 3 in your change practice is to create, initially in your change cycle, but at any point within it, to create and engage with an initial alliance of stakeholders to determine whether or not there is sufficient support to drive this change through the organisation. So if we look at the behaviour of the 3 that us as change managers are required to have to be successful, is not just leadership and patience and diplomacy, but we also want to engage. So we look at the 3 with open arms. The 3 is almost joyous and childlike. Come into my home. I want you to feel welcome. And so this is about creating an engaging steering group, but it's also about engagement with every meeting and every person that you meet with. Do they come into your project environment and feel absolutely welcome and safe? Because building that trust is so very important further downstream. So during the time of the 3, the things that we are doing is identifying our key senior stakeholders necessary to support the change. And we will assess what has come out of early high-level impact assessments, assess the vision, we may tweak them, but at this stage we decide, do we go forward or not based on what we have learnt? Okay, and we could stop here, but we shall move on. So take some time now to think about how satisfied you are with the way of the creator in your change practice. How opening and welcoming and engaging are you with all the people that you meet so that you can set a really creative space for your meetings to allow the key topics and discussions to be had. Okay. Moving on. Today I plan for payback. Only stable foundations suffice to realise our hard work, our success with hard work and sacrifice. The number 4, first thing to do, take a look at the shape, see how it differs from the bouncy, friendly 3 that's engaging everybody. The number 4 is saying, stop. Okay, we've had some fun, we've identified an idea, we think we're ready for it, we've got our key stakeholders together, but you are not executing yet. Oh no. The 4 is responsible for laying a solid, reliable foundation for your change initiative to be built. Look how the shape of the 4 is stable, root goes into the earth, the triangle, another universal symbol representing our goals and aspirations, but it has to be delivered through clear planning. And so the 4 in your way of being is asking you as a change practitioner to also be reliable, structured, ordered, use standards, get accreditation. ACMP, I hear, is a good one. That would be all in the 4. How are we ensuring quality standards? And we're planning. So during the stage of the 4, what we're doing is we're taking those high-level change impact assessments and we're now digging deeper. We're now looking at what are the tangible change deliverables, what is the detail in terms of the different impacted user groups, and how are they impacted, and why are they impacted, and what are the key change messages, and what is our strategy going to be to close the gap. All of that needs to be during the 4. We need to plan our communications. And of course, we need to plan for tangible deliverables, whether it was training materials, whether it was training plans, presentation materials. These are all things that are planned during the stage of the 4 and reviewed by our governing group to make sure that we can go forward. Okay, so how many of you, put your hands up, are in this first 1 engaging and you've just entered into the 4 stage? You're not executing yet? but you're either working in the vision or readiness or engagement or planning, and you're not executing. Is anyone working in that space? Yeah, quite a few. What would you say are your most significant challenges right now? Got some challenges? No challenges? All happy bunnies? Oh, got a challenge.
I have a vice president who's the sponsor, but then another VP who's a resistor. So
Right.
So it's sort of like the big guys are like
Right.
duking it out.
Right. And so you would be wanting to employ the number 2 as tactful peacemaker, interpreter, to bring those together, to find a common ground. That's where the two comes in. Okay, so we've done our planning, and so let's now just assess where you guys are. How satisfied are you with the extent of robust planning that you are doing in your change initiatives? Okay. Today I pass the passion. Our audience expands and grows. By uniting hearts and minds to purpose, our change begins to flow. Now look at the 5. Open on all sides. Okay, the 5 won't like the 4 and the 4 won't like the 5 because the 4 just likes nice and stable please, so I'll bring the plans, but the 5 is ready to take it to town. Okay, so the 5 is the promoter. The 5 passes the passion in our change initiative. And during this time, we are now reaching out and building those change networks throughout our organisation. That's not the 3, that was the engagement with the stakeholders. We must do that first. And in 4, we must determine who our change network is, who our impacted people are, and then we can reach out to them. Okay? So this is when we will be communicating, creating passion, creating excitement, and ideally be getting people to think about, what does this change mean for me? How do I come on the journey? And that's where coaching next is really important, because they get to define where it takes them on their journey. And one thing I must tell you about the 5 is often when I'm developing communication plans or presentations with senior stakeholders, they'll say, "Oh, Louise, do you think you're best to deliver this? You know, you're really quite passionate about the topic." And I'll say, "Oh, no." And if you've seen the movie The Bodyguard, I'm like Kevin Costner, okay? I'm like Kevin Costner that stands behind the screen making sure that this space is integral. And my sponsor is Whitney Houston out on front stage, okay? And so I always say, no, change practitioners support and enable and coach our leaders to be great change practitioners. Okay, so number 5, just take a moment. How satisfied are you with the promoter in your change practice? Taking time to take the story out there, both from the heart and the mind, describing the change, defining the change as measurable outcomes. We're now creating that local ownership. This is where sometimes we do need to be flexible, because plans change and we need to hold it together, even though we can't believe that change has just happened to us. Okay, today I coach the approach to keep people true by lifting them higher to what they can do. The 6 is the teacher. We coach the approach. Take a look at the 6. It's like a person nurturing, drawing in, and I'm going to say pregnant belly, okay? This can be male or female. The concept is we are bringing people into a nurturing environment, because the 6 is the time where we take people from where they are today to where they need to be. They need to have a safe space to change. And we as change practitioners need to exemplify those nurturing behaviours that we say, it's not about us, it is about you. So during the time of the 6th, this is when we are actively training, running workshops, We are building coaching plans. All the things that we set in the 4, we are now full into execution. People should be on board and have the desire from the number 5. Now we're doing the hard work. This is where the issues and challenges come up. This is where we find out maybe, we didn't think about that when we designed that process. We might need to go back, because it's not until you start rolling out that you know. And so it is a time of really open and trusting environment is really important. So, how are you doing as a teacher? Are you making sure that you are closing the gap between current and future state based on the plans that you have in place? Be nurturing and caring for the people that are going through the change. Because for some people we know it's hard, right? Okay, let's move on. Actually, before I move on, how many people are in that 4, 5, 6 executing stage of communicating and changing and training? Some over here? Some over here? Yeah. Okay, we've got some change going on, so that's good. Today I question to qualify, to seek truth in what we see, to ensure our vision is becoming the right reality. Susan Scott mentioned this morning, so I was quite glad she said that, because it very much relates to the 7. The 7 in your change practice is the seeker. We question to qualify. So if you look at the shape of the 7, it's like if I'm kind of looking that way, I'm looking out. I could, if I was going to be an old man, I could even hold a lantern and shine the light forward to see what is going on out there. So this is the time where the seeker is assessing the health status of your initiatives. This is where we have built our change networks and trust with our colleagues, that we can ask what's working well, what's not working well. To what extent are we meeting our training objectives versus not? We're doing a full assessment about how far we have got according to the program that we have kicked off. The 7 is a time of inaction very similar to the 2. It's gathering intelligence so that other decisions can be made. And so that you can be analytical as a 7. You could be focus on your heart center, how you feel, or capture anecdotal evidence from your change initiatives. It's not just about fact. There is an art and a science. Some people may say that they have to feel spiritually about what's going on. I just have faith that, or I feel that. When we're seeking truth, it does go beyond fact. And to note that people are more than just factual scientific beings is really important. Okay, so take a look at the summary of the seeker. And yes, we would recommend remedial action. We wouldn't take it. That's not our job at that time. And so as a project manager or as a change manager, we would be submitting change status reports to our project or change board. And so sometimes I'm asked by a project manager where I review their project reports that's to go to steering group, Louise, should this really go in the steering group report? Because I don't think they're going to like it. And I say, absolutely they go in the status report, but let's take a look at how it's been articulated. It's our duty as change practitioners to seek the truth and report it to our governing bodies so they can take remedial action. They are ultimately accountable for the change, and we are pure facilitators of it. So I absolutely endorse what Susan Scott said. We need to have courage from the leader. And we say, it is my job, and I will do my job, and these are the facts. The facts are the facts. The facts can't hurt us. We can just decide what to do with the facts. So, seeker, very important. Anyway, have you done your 7, your satisfaction? Okay. Today, I reap the reward. I am balanced and just, managing everything we harvest to quality, time, and cost. The 8th way to change is the way of the manager. We reap the reward. Look at the shape of the 8. It is balanced, above, below. You could look at that many different ways. Heart and mind. And it's not just about managing our resources in terms of time, cost and quality at the same time as delivering all these required changes and outcomes. It's us as change practitioners being balanced so that when a supposed crisis happens, they know their program manager is not going to be running out the door screaming. We have to stop and assess. We have to remain balanced for our teams because it builds trust right throughout our change initiative, and you'll see that months and months on once the change initiative has finished. So what will the 8 be doing during the stage? Then the 8 is basically, as we go through our change cycle, we've had all of these ideas coming through, we've been promoting, and now we have coached and we're creating a new capability, and that new capability is coming into the organisation. I should actually do it that way for you, actually. New capability coming into the organisation, and we are taking corrective action to make sure that we're staying on track in the 7. So as we get to the 8 is like the money counter. Oh, here it comes, here it comes. Here's that finished IT system, or here's that finished training course. Let me see, did it meet the required quality? The 8 is the gatekeeper of everything that we expect to deliver during the 8, and of course remaining very balanced when we are working with our internal and external stakeholders. And when we have delivered everything that we've put in our change plan back in the 4, the 8 will go, yippee, my job's done, the hard bit's done. And I don't know about you guys, but certainly if I just go back to the cycle, the bit from the bottom from 5, 6, 7, 8, it's like a rocking boat where we are going up and down. We are training, we're delivering, we're assessing, there's still much more to do. It's now round 2 training, and now it's round 3 training, or now we're still building new systems. Oh, has the vision changed? We have to go back and now align the vision. Do our plans need to change because the vision has changed? Okay, now let's realign the rest of it. Some people of this bit, because it can seem to go forever, I've heard it called the trough of death. That sounds a bit kind of dark, doesn't it? Or dark night of the soul, or the trough of death. Well, I think I'm in the trough of death. I'm managing an IT program of work to migrate an entire architecture up to the cloud, and we are definitely in the trough of death. Like, we need it to be over. It's going to be another 3 months yet, but we have to persist. We've got to be just as bright as sparkly in the 8th time as we are in the 1. We have to be balanced. Anyway, don't want to digress and tell you my woes. Okay, so have we marked how satisfied we are with our ability to manage and to check quality and to ensure that that quality is according to a plan? Okay, we're getting there. Today I reinforce the course so it remains integral and true. I offer myself in service for what we may start anew. So let's take a look at the number 9. The servant, the 9th way, reinforces the course of our change. And in terms of its shape, it will give you an idea of its required behaviours. So opposite to the 6th, the servant is now serving the change. We have now built the change, we nurtured the change. It's now time to let the change go out into the organisation. And if you've heard the term servant leader, anyone heard about servant leadership? And that is, how do we start as individual people at the 1, but through our experience and wisdom and realising it's not about me, it's about others. When we come full circle in that wisdom, we end up in the 9 because we have developed so much wisdom and experience over our many, many projects that we move into what I would say servant leader. Now, if you see from the 9, you've got servant, and then you've got leader, and it just shows you how you go full circle to develop right into 1. And so the 9 as a change practitioner is all very much about you being very service orientated and ready to hand over. So what do we do during the time of the 9? We're closing out. We're running our lessons learned workshops. We are reviewing those and determining what will we do differently in our next change initiative. We're also being very vigilant to ensure that the plans that we made during time of the 4 of how we will embed the change into the organisation and how we will measure, sometimes people do, sometimes not, to what extent we will measure the realisation of those benefits post the change initiative. We're closing all of that out, and we all know quite often when we're in the 9 stage, we've got stakeholders saying, we've got another one big initiative that's now the priority, and the 9 can easily get forgotten. It's so, so important, and we wouldn't have a complete 9 if that was the case. Okay, so mark on your chart how satisfied you are with your servitude in your change practice. How can you be a greater servant to others? Okay. So, as we close out our change, we move on from our goal, and through each new breath, we come closer to whole. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the 9 ways to change, but we are not finished just yet. In case you think you're going to run out the door, I have them locked. Okay, let's just spend a couple of moments on this because I just find it fascinating, and if you're like me and a bit weird, then so will you. What you can do after this session is take a look at your change wheel and actually start thinking back, where did we do particularly well in this change initiative? Oh, we did well in the 1, 3, and 4, and 7, but where did we forget something, and where did that cause us a problem? Another thing that you can do to get to know this change model even better is, we've talked about these 9 characters: the leader, the partner, the engager, the creator. Look out for those people in your organisation. They will exist everywhere. You will have people around your meeting teams and you'll go, they're a supporter, they're the peacemaker. You may have the 1s all got their ideas at the table. You may have the 6s who are the natural coaches. You may have the 4s, I find quite often accountants, I must say. The number 4s, we need all of these energies. It's not just about us as a whole person, but we need all of these energies in our teams and our change practices to create whole change that is sustainable. So this one, I wanted to share this one. I'll do it quickly and I might skip past the other 2. In my early change practice, I didn't have the confidence to say to a stakeholder, I think we need to stop and just do a little bit of planning. Because the words, and I get these words that often that I'm saying, I'm going to write a book on this, and this book is going to be called Just Get On With It. And I haven't, so if any of you do, feel free. This whole just get on with it was as if I could be given an idea from a sponsor, and then I'm just going to go and make it happen magically. And so what that means in terms of this chart, the number 1, we've got an idea. Number 5, go and talk about it, communicate it, and execute it. How many people have been part of or observed where someone has sent out an email, oh, we've got a great new initiative and it's going to do this and create a great new strategic direction for us and increase our sales or whatever, and then find either it's died a death or it's either retracted or not quite now? Has anyone observed that happen where some people are just a little bit too, one over there, a little bit too excited to be telling everyone about the change before it's been really thought through? And that won't happen in my change practice anymore because I come in and I stop. But when I was younger, I didn't find it easy to have that conversation. And just one more, this is not the result we expected. So there may have been done a little bit of work in the one, got a group of people. Yep, that seems a good idea. Let's go out and communicate to a few people. But we haven't done any planning or assessment around it, and we haven't actually planned for how we're going to close the gap with people. So why are we getting the results we were getting when we're looking in the 7? We just don't get it. And it may be because people expect change to just happen by default, and we know it doesn't. So we can see that they were definitely missing some points. So in interest of time, I'm going to cut through these 2. That's a very valid one. Now, on your app, if you go to this session and look at the full profile, you'll see the presentation pack for this anyway. So feel free to download it. And if you have a problem, then just email me and I'll send it to you. Okay, so take a look at your change wheel. And just for yourself, just acknowledge how balanced are you in your change practice? You're kind of having a look round, you're thinking, and how many people think that they've got something to work with as a result of today? Something? Just one little thing? Yeah? Good. Well, that's really great news. And so what I'd like to do is I'd just like you to put your hand up, and I'm going to go through all of the 9 numbers, and I want to know, just one, what's your greatest strength? Okay, so decide which one is your greatest strength. Normally we have 3 that are mostly strong. Your greatest strength, right, I might put you under pressure, we're going to make a start. Okay, 1, the leader. How strong are our leaders in here? Leaders, got a few, we need a few more ideas injected into this room then. Okay, I'll find you later. 2, partner. Great. Cooperating, working with others well, make sure we don't go too far too soon. Number 3, the creator, engaging people. Nice, makes people feel welcome, create good governing groups, very necessary. What about 4s? 4s, got some strong 4s. Okay, what about 5, the promoter? Oh, got some good sales people. 6, the coach, the teacher, the nurturer, closing the gap. Excellent. 7, the seeker. Got some seekers? Status, truth. Or I might need you on my team then if you're the only one. 8, the manager. 9, the servant. Okay, now, what on earth could we create together, knowing that we all together have the 9 ways to change? What on earth would our project look like in terms of making a difference to the world if we could use all of those skills? It would be awesome. Okay. So just make a note of which of the 9 ways that you'd most like to develop. You can write it on your paper. And then I'm going to ask you to tell your neighbour so that I know you've done it. What would you most like to develop and do differently? Share it with your, it doesn't have to be a book. Okay, let's regroup, team. How thought about how you can use the 9 ways to change with your team or in your change practice? Has anyone already got any particular ideas? Oh, when I go back, I'm going to do this. Is anyone brave enough to think of a way they might use it? No? Oh, yes. Eric?
It just goes to the idea of just collective talents,
Yes.
and that each person on the team has these great thought patterns, or diversity of thought,
Yep.
so that we all can leverage one another to help achieve the goal overall. So the idea of together that we're better
Yes.
versus working individually.
Yes, love it. Eric says that by recognizing the talents and the natural talents of people in his team according to this, we can work better together, which is absolutely spot on. So very quickly, you can use it just on your own to assess yourself. Where am I in my change practice? Where do I need to improve? You could sit with your team and say, let's just talk about planning today. How satisfied are we with planning, and are we building reliable foundations for this initiative? Just ask the open question. You can coach them through it, see what comes out. Asking the question, sometimes you don't need to know the answer, is powerful enough. You could use it one-on-one with a colleague or client, or with a project manager who may not be, you may know that they're not engaging enough, and you may want to sit down and have a session and let's just talk about engagement. And so there's lots of different ways, but I've been using this now. I developed it over a period of 10 years, using it now for 5, and not many people in my client base know that I use it. But they say about me, one thing that Louise does is she brings people and our projects together in one cohesive whole. She just brings us together as if it was the pieces in a puzzle, which is a lovely compliment. But I really want them to say, what's the secret? Because it's not me, it's the 9 ways to change. When you start following a model that will bring you cohesion, you will see cohesive results. It's almost like magic. Maybe it's the art, I should say. So I really do encourage you to take it away, and please ask me any questions by email, or you can tell me, want to meet here during a break, I'll be more than happy. And make sure that you take a look at your life themes with your coaching model. So for example, with your life themes, healthy foundation in our change practice, in our personal life, no surprise, healthy foundation in our life practice. The 2 and 2 don't separate. Okay, so your most significant takeaway from today, please just write it down and then think about it afterwards so that you don't forget it. If you want to email me what it is, I'd be very excited. I get very excited when people email me. I don't have many friends. I'm too busy working in change, and change combined with family means 0 friends. So maybe you can be my new friends. Okay, you will have seen these objectives. We've looked at the value of coaching. We've looked at a coaching model, deepened your understanding, explored the opportunities. Now, the grand finale. Please stand up. You are now going to walk the 9 ways to change with as much enthusiasm and smiliness. Just feel how happy you're going to be when you go back to your organisation with this powerful toolkit. Okay, so we'll just read along. So, with me. I am an open channel for new ways to flow. Use me as you will. Show me where to go. So today I precision the vision. I will have courage to see the possibilities for who and what we can be. Today I assess for success to determine patiently whether this change is ready for reality. Today I engage the stage, my comrades, my allies, we find the same page. Today I plan for payback, only stable foundations suffice to realise our hard work and I forgot the success bit again. With hard work and sacrifice. Not there yet. Today I pass the passion Our audience expands and grows. By uniting hearts and minds to purpose, our change begins to flow. Today, I coach the approach to keep people true by lifting them higher to what they can do. Today, I question to qualify, to seek truth in what we see, to ensure our vision is becoming the right reality. Today, I reap the reward. I am balanced and just, managing everything we harvest to quality, time, and cost. Today, I reinforce the course so it remains integral and true. I offer myself in service for what we may start anew. So, as we close out our change, keep going, we move on from our goal, and through each new breath, we come closer to whole. We're done. Okay.